So, I have been a Construct 3 guy for years. If you've watched my channel at all in the past, you know that I make Construct 3 tutorials and projects and plugins, and games, and I've made all sorts of awesome things with people in the community over the years. I love Construct 3, but I have to confess, I have actually been using GDevelop for the last 5+ months, and I really like it. And I have some opinions as to why I like it right now in at least a few key areas over Construct 3 at the beginning of 2026. And I want to share those with you today. Here we are inside of Construct 3. I have spent so much time inside of this tool. And you know what? I don't want this to be a Construct equals bad, GDevelop equals good video. I still love Construct 3. And there's a ton of overlap between these two engines. If you like an engine where you can make event sheet driven code, where you have if this, then do this, and you like even mixing in some code with that, I mean, both of these engines are great for that. And I've always thought that Construct 3 kind of has the advantage over the user experience and the polish. It just felt cleaner and it felt more reactive, and I just felt faster inside of Construct 3. I would kind of dabble with GDevelop, maybe once every year or so. I'd kind of play around and do something. But, it wasn't until recently, I hadn't looked at it in maybe almost 2 years, that I really jumped in and gave it a serious look, that I was like, wow, you know what? They have leapfrogged Construct 3 in some of the areas that I'm interested in. And if you have watched my channel in the past, I have done a lot of Construct 3 3D sort of projects. And Construct 3 does have the ability to do some simple 3D, right? And you can come in here and you are able to do a 3D layout, and you can have a 3D camera, and you can make some simple 3D games. And I've even worked on plugins in the past and worked with lots of people in the community to try to come up with some great alternatives to extend this further and to make it feel more like an actual 3D engine. And I've always kind of thought in the back of my mind that eventually Construct would start to add some of these features in. But they haven't. And it's not a priority for them. I get that. They're focused on what they want to be great at. But if you are like a lot of developers where you want to be able to do some things both in 2D and 3D, and you like this style of game engine, these are the 3 things that GDevelop is doing great that I wish Construct 3 would maybe consider to start to do. Okay, so number 1, they adopted Three.js. They did not make their own 3D renderer. They used a battle-proven, super popular, transferable skill, if you learn how to interact with it, Three.js library. And that makes it already fantastic. It's got everything that you need to make a 3D game now, except for the physics. And what did they do? Did they make their own physics? No, they adopted Jolt. They adopted Jolt, which is a great physics library. And now all of a sudden, by adopting these 2 industry standard libraries and incorporating it in the GDevelop, and starting to make behaviors that beginners or anybody who just wants to move quickly want to just drop into their game that's leveraging the Three.js and Jolt, all of a sudden you can quickly make 3D games beyond just basic 3D shapes inside of GDevelop and still use event sheets and all the other things that I was used to inside of Construct 3. You can see right away, hey, inside of this engine, in this little demo here, I don't have just 3D basic shapes. I have shadows. I am able to make a 3D platformer, and away we go with physics. And it's not something where I've had to make this weird, goofy, Z sort of math inside of Construct 3 work to make the 2D physics work inside the 3D Z elevation. It's just 3D physics working with 3D models that enables you to make a 3D game inside of the engine. So the choice to adopt Three.js and Jolt physics as libraries for their 3D solutions and incorporate it into the engine was a fantastic choice. And you know what? Construct 3 could still consider that. I don't know if they will, but they've got their own renderer and everything else. But this is, and I know that it would be a lot of work, but GDevelop managed to integrate it smoothly. And it's fantastic that now all of a sudden you have access to these three, I mean, the robust environment of 3JS and Jolt. Okay, so number 2 is also huge. It cannot be overstated. And it just released, which is the 3D editor. And you're like, hey, well, this looks just like Construct 3 did. Oh, wait, I have a 3D button now. Can I turn? Oh, I can turn. I know it sounds so silly. I mean, I know. I mean, in all the other engines that everybody's worked with, this is all basic stuff. I use Blender extensively, and I've worked plenty in Unity and Godot, and it's just, I mean, you just need the ability to do these things, right? And I love working in the GDevelop and Construct 3 style of engine. It's just how my brain works naturally to want to organize things like this. But I'm so happy that this exists. I spent an elaborate amount of time trying to make my own version of this inside of Construct 3. Here it is running in the background right now. But you know what? Now it's just inside of the engine, and it's not some fragile third-party thing. It's just there, and it's built in. Okay, now this third area was a big plus for myself, and this was the extensibility of GDevelop, and for power users, how easy it is to extend it and make use of it, and also feed it back to the community quickly, and even have them adopt it as something that others can quickly download and use inside of their games. Now, Construct 3 also has behaviors, and people also can make plugins, and they can be behaviors, and they can extend it. But GDevelop makes it really easy. And as somebody who's now done it in both, that I can just come in here, and I can actually even see, for instance, on this behavior, you can go and open up that in the editor. You can go and see what it is, and you can come over here and you can actually make your own extension right here in the editor, and you can use events to do it. So if you like making events and you want to put all of your complicated systems into extensions, which is what I like to do, it's a fantastic way to organize your code. And you know what? You can even come over here, and if you want to, you can make it use JavaScript, which is what I've used extensively to put in some pretty complicated systems into some of my projects. And it just is a joy to work with, because you can make either generalized tooling that you're going to use over and over that you can make into extensions very easily, or you can make game specific systems like you might for your own game. It's specific logic to your game, but you want to make your logic very clean at the event sheet. You can do all the complicated stuff here in the extension environment and then bring it into your event sheet and make your logic really simple. And I mean, yes, both Construct 3 and GDevelop have the ability to extend it, but the combination of openness, the libraries, I have access to 3JS and Jolt directly, which is fantastic, in addition to all the other API that GDevelop exposes. You can go and make some really awesome things because of the openness and the ease, and that you're inside the same editor environment, and you're able to even share it back to the community, so it accelerates the development of the engine overall. Make it a big win over Construct 3, in my opinion. So, speaking of which, I've been working on a pretty fun little sandbox environment where I have made use of all three of the things I just talked about, and it has just been a joy. Look at this. I've got like 25,000 enemies swarming around inside of this game. And you know what? It's using all sorts of awesome swarm math. It's doing all this crazy stuff on the GPU. It's doing all the instancing, and it's very performant. And I've got all sorts of awesome, integration with the physics that I can even come over here, and I made it so that this terrain actually can explode. And if you want your enemies to fall down, I can picture a game where maybe, just maybe, after the itch I experienced playing Megabonk, which was a fantastic 3D survivor, and I have been somebody tinkering with a survivor style game for a long time, and I played that, and I got the itch, and I was just like, you know what? I think I could make something like that. Well, GDevelop has enabled me to make something like that, maybe even better in my own way. So yeah, this is super early, but it's been a joy. It's been a ton of fun getting the project to this point so far, and I'm loving it. And I couldn't have done this inside of Construct 3. And yes, it's not what Construct 3 is focusing on, but 3 things. 1, they adopted Three.js and Jolt, these awesome libraries that I was able to access and actually extend and use directly, which I wouldn't have been able to do that inside of Construct 3 because they don't have these fully built out for 3D. And I know it's not their focus, but they haven't started to go down that path yet. 2, they have a 3D editor, which I'm not making a huge deal about it because I'm automating so much of this, but I love working within the 3D editor and setting up some of my environments, and it's just a joy to use. And it's a necessary tool in the toolbox if you want to make a 3D game inside of a game engine. You need a 3D editor. And 3, extensions and the ability to make these complicated systems inside of an extension while inside of the editor, and then quickly drop it into your event sheet to make your code nice and simple. So, will I ever use Construct 3 again? Yes, I will. I love Construct 3 still. It's still a great engine. It's a tool in my toolbox. But GDevelop, I am loving having that as a new tool in my toolbox, and especially for anything 3D related right now, it's just the clear choice for me at this point. So, if you are watching this video trying to decide which engine to use, or you're an experienced Construct 3 developer or an experienced GDeveloper user, and you're trying to decide a switch or which one to use, I would say if you're making a 3D game, you got to use GDevelop. If you're only making a 2D game and you don't ever really think you'll dabble too much in 3D, it might be worth picking up Construct 3 and using it. I mean, I know it's a paid app, but it is a fantastic tool, and for 2D games, it's so polished, it's so quick to iterate, it's still a joy to use. But anything to do with 3D, or you think you might use 3D, I'm now saying go use GDevelop. It's just a clear winner in how they've approached things. And I hope that Construct 3 follows suit. I hope that they go in and they make a 3D editor. I hope that they go in and they make it a little bit easier to extend the engine, or that they themselves start to adopt some of these libraries, if the community can, to make 3D more of a reality inside of Construct 3. So, with that said, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. It's free for you to do, and it makes a big difference for me. I know it has been a while since I have made a video, but life is busy. I am a father of 3 and have a full-time job. So, I make games as often as I can, and I am hoping that I can make some more content like this in 2026 as I continue to work on this game that I showed you. Maybe I'll be able to make some content around that and show some things that I'm doing inside of GDevelop to make all this magic happen on the screen. Thanks, everybody.